How's it going, YouTube? And welcome back to the grid. And I'm your host, Cardfight Grid. And today we have an exciting match for you guys. Today we have Dungaree versus Harri v Premium. And this is the Dungaree list that I actually displayed on my channel. So if you guys want to check that out. And yeah, and here we go. So it looks like Harry's going to start off first. He's going to start off riding the Mirror Master. And then passing over to Dungaree. And Dungaree's gonna go ahead and ride exterminate or demolition dragon, and then calling out the grade 3 searcher in the back. Doesn't hit anything, and go ahead and swings at Harri. No guard, and checks and the draft check checks the Dungaree, which is awesome. And then with demolitions on hit skill, he gets to draw a card. Harri goes ahead, rides the pigeon. That's what I like to call it. Swings, and Dungaree says no pass. And I think it's very smart for not to take early damage against Harri. Dungaree goes ahead and rides Ren. Swings at Harri for 1 to pass, and Dungaree gets it with the crit, and Harri ends up getting 2 triggers, at least one of them's a draw, so it's not too bad. Harri finds Harri, rides, gets Excel 2. Gets the Jacqueline to look at the top 2 and puts 1 card into soul. He can add up to 2 Nightmare Dolls and 2 Nightmare Dolls, or a Nightmare Doll and a pigeon. And yeah, I think it's very important to try to stay at very low damage, especially against the Harri decks, because they can sack you pretty hard once the dragon comes out. So that's in my opinion, that's the correct way to play against the deck. Just don't try your best not to take any early damage if you can. And it looks like no dragon's gonna come out this turn. Yeah, because usually they use the pigeon on the Excel circle, but no, Harri ends up just calling out the Prana and the Mirror Master, and then plays the grade 3 searcher to get Doreen, and yeah, calls her out. Alright. Prana and Harri get plus 10k each just because of Prana, and each one represents 5k increments, if you guys didn't know that. So yeah, he's just trying to figure out, and yeah, the Prana actually gets plus 15. Slings with the Doreen first. Quick shield that. And swings with Jacqueline for a bit. 22. Guards that. Ends up taking the Harri with no guard. Checks a pigeon and a dragon. Damage checking the Jaggy shot. And damage checking a heal from the Prana attack. And then Dungaree writes Dungaree. And I believe he gets Excel 2, but and then he's gonna call out Cho. And I don't believe he activated the Rode Upon skill of the Ren. And I believe for the fact because he wants to conserve his counterblast for that. And he ends up playing the grade 3 searcher. That's why this ends up getting the Jaggy shot, yeah. So right now it looks pretty good for Dungaree, just for the fact that the board is clear, so Jaggy shot will proc off to get the draw. And then he goes into battle phase, and Dungaree ends up buying the top cards, a crit, swings with Cho-Oh for 14, gets guarded, and then swings with the Eradicator twins, or brothers. That gets guarded as well, but they both get binded and draw 2. Such an amazing pair for this deck. And it feels like so much good value there. And then he swings with a Jaggy shot, ends up binding the Exterminator Demolition Dragon from hand. Gets guarded and swings with Dungaree for, I believe, 30. And I believe it comes to 2 to pass. He ends up getting a crit. Gives the power to gives everything to the Cho-Oh, and then ends up swinging with Cho-Oh for 3 crit. And Harri just takes it. Okay. Harri goes ahead and rides Harri again. Gets another Excel 2. Draw. Has the Pigeon this time. Pigeon puts Piranha inside Soul. He's going to counterblast 1, discard a card, and call out 4 Nightmare Dolls if he can, or up to 4. So it does not look like he has 4, which is yeah, pretty heartbreaking, because once you have that 4, it helps out a lot, because the dragon gets plus 5k for each Nightmare Doll on board. So at least he got 3, which is he got the power boost from Piranha, the counter charge from Mirror Master, and now he has that extra guarding, or he can guard pretty big now for 1 attack with the Paratrooper. And so Pigeon swings, Dungaree guards that, ends up bringing the dragon. The dragon is currently 30 right now, I believe. So 1 trigger will make him a 40, and then he'll get his additional crit and Sentinel Restrict. So Dungaree's hoping no triggers come out, and a heal comes out, which is kind of fair because he's already at 5. And a heal comes out for Dungaree. He also gets a trigger. And so Piranha swings, and either he guards this and maybe guard the dragon or take it, or either guards this, probably takes the dragon, or he takes this and guards the dragon. I believe it. Piranha might be swinging at Cho. Actually, I take that back. Yeah, Piranha's swinging at Cho, which makes it and it is what it is. Cho goes down. And now the dragon is swinging for 40 with 2 crit and Sentinel Restrict. And he swung at the Jaggy Shot, actually. Does not want to give the Dungaree any extra counterblasts. Rewriting Dungaree, getting Excel 2, getting that draw. And it's I wouldn't believe. So for Dungaree decks, like, you don't really actually need too much counterblast, because the Eradicator brothers actually countercharge 1, so they pay for themselves. Dungaree also brings out the Dragon Knight to Soul Blast 1, bind a card from hand, and draw 1. And then he does binds the top card of the deck with Ren to draw. Also makes Harri to bind a card and ends up binding a Paratrooper, which is nice. That's a 10k card. Calls out the Mew Mew and ends up activating her skill, which is Soul Blasting 1, bind a card from hand to draw a card. And right now already 3 in bind, so when he goes to attack, then he's going to have 4, so he's going to be able to bind a card from his opponent's hand, but not recycle anything inside the deck. So yeah, entering battle, ends up swinging, binding a card from the opponent's hand, which is going to be Harri. Okay. And I believe he's swinging for 30k again, with 3 tricks and 2 crit. Ends up activating Paratrooper skill to guard with all the Nightmare Dolls on the field. And he pits everything on Dungaree and does not pass. I believe it was a 2 to pass. And then swings with a Ren for 14. And then he also has a Dragon Knight for 19. Ends up getting a trigger, so Dragon Knight can't even hit. And also the grade 3 Searcher column right there couldn't hit either, which is sad, but it is what it is. Dungaree's at 3 damage right now, which is kind of scary, because now when Harri brings out the dragon, it's most certainly going to be a 2 crit. And on top of that, if he drive tracks a crit, that's another crit on the dragon, and guarding that dragon without no PG is not the easiest thing to do sometimes. Ends up calling out four of those Magia dolls, and yeah, now he's gonna go ahead and give the dragon plus 20k when it comes out, just off of the names. Ends up swinging, and then Dungaree intercepts with the Dragon Knight, activating his skill when he's placed on guard to bind a card from his hand and draw a card, and opponent binding a card as well. So that was a pigeon tag, and then he gets to call out the dragon right after, swinging with the Mirror Master column right here, which I believe is a 26. So it's a 10k guard, which is actually really nice. And then he guards with the Mew Mew, and then swinging with Prana, which is a way bigger number. Yeah, I believe that's like a 37, which is a 20k, well 25k guard actually. So it's not looking too easy, and on top of that he still has a Vanguard attack swinging at him, which is easily going to be 35 I believe, or around there. Ends up PG in the Vanguard, and he got the Prawn attack, and now the dragon did not get any trigger, but I think he's contemplating on not even swinging at Dungaree, which is wow. Okay, yeah, Harry's really trying to play very defensive, just for the fact that he kind of started off the game slow and he doesn't want to give too much value or too much resources to Dungaree. But like I said, the Eradicator brothers is literally countercharge one for themselves, and they're going to counterblast, and they pay for their own skill, which is really nice. And that's mostly the only counterblast you use. It's only them and I believe Ren and Cho, but Cho is gone now, so that's all the counterblast. Now it's only soul blasting. So right now, like, Harry's just, I believe, see, this is, yeah, soul blasting, using the effect, and right now I believe he has 3 in bind right now, and since something got bounded, the Dragon Knights just get automatic plus 5k, and so does the grade 3 Searcher. Swings for 26 I believe with the Eradicator brothers. Guards that with 15k shield, ends up binding the whole column, which is nice, drawing 2. And Dungaree had 5, sending back 3 crits to try and finish off the game as soon as possible, which I do not blame him, because it looks like that deck is running pretty thin. Swinging with Dungaree for 30 right now to Vanguard, and 3 checks. Ends up guarding with a crit Sentinel, using Paratrooper skill to guard with Mirror Master. I believe it's another 2 to pass, and it looks like he might be putting, it looks like seeing about paying all the effects on the grade 3 Searcher, and he ends up doing it. Okay, and he he would have got through, but it is a-okay, because these are a lot of attacks right now coming to Harry's way, so I don't think he's gonna really survive this too much. Yeah, and he puts everything on the grade 3 Searcher. Swing with Vermin, the swing with the Dragon Knight, guarding that, swing with the other Dragon Knight column. And I believe the game came down to him being 5k short. Oh wait, no, he ended up surviving. Oh wow, okay ladies and gentlemen, Harry's not dying. Let's see if he can pull off a comeback right now. Ended up activating Harry's skill, calls out 3, does not have nothing in hand, so okay, he's not bringing out the dragon this turn, which is very, very sad. And it looks like Dungaree has a PG and a couple crits in his hand, so I think he should be fine. On top of that, he has 3 interceptors, but I believe he's running very low on soul, which is those Dragon Knights are not going to be able to activate. He can still intercept, but not activate. And this is where he's making a 2 to pass, and nope. Swinging with the Paratroop column, just end up intercepting Alright, didn't even have to intercept, just guard with a grade 3 searcher and then PGing the prawn attack. And now it's going back to Dungaree, and that's going to be game, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't even have to swing with Dungaree for this attack. And he just has a full board. Something got bounded, now everything just gets plus 5k. Yep, and that is the game for game 1. And Dungaree takes it. So yeah, for these matchups, you kind of really want to know how the more you know about your opponent's deck, how it functions, the more you know how to play against it. As you can see, Harri was believing Dungaree needed a lot of Cannon Blast, which he did not. Or sometimes he actually does for Cho, but Cho was gone already, so he did not need it anymore. All it was just soul charging, or soul resource management. Harri ends up riding the grade 3 searcher, grabbing the Harri, and then Dungaree rides the grade 3 searcher, grabbing Dungaree. Alright, so no one's gonna miss right on grade 3. That's a nice feeling. Ends up swinging, says no guard, and takes the crit from Dungaree. Rides the Jacqueline. Searching the top 7, I believe. Jacqueline's such a good card. Grabbing 2 cards. Ends up getting the Mirror Master and a Paratrooper, so that was very nice. I believe he ended up hitting Prana inside. Calls out a grade 3 searcher. Does not hit anything. And ends up just swinging at Vanguard. And saying 1 to pass, and he passed with a draw trigger, and Dungaree checks the draw trigger defensively, so ends up drawing, so that's nice. Ends up riding Ren and swing at Vanguard for 1 to pass, does not pass through. And now a Mirror Master's in there as well, and the Soul rides a Harri, gets Excel 2, draw. So I believe he has 2. Yeah, he has 2 Nightmare Dolls in Soul. So maybe he's contemplating about activating the skill, or no, ends up calling out both of them, but no Pigeon again. Which is very unfortunate, but at least he gets the counter charge to play another Jacqueline to search out the Pigeon and the Dragon. Or searching out the Pigeon and a Magia doll. Not the Dragon. Actually, the Pigeon searches out the Dragon almost like everywhere, except for, I believe, damage. And now, I believe he's not going to commit anything else to the board, and nope, entering battle. Swinging with Harri first for it looks like to be 35. Ends up saying no guarding, hits a draw trigger, and yeah, taking 1 damage. And Dungaree hits a defensive draw trigger, so that's going to be very helpful. And that Prana's big. I just realized that Prana's swinging for like 39. Swing with the Jacqueline column, that's barely touching, but as long as it's touching, that's good. Swings Prana and 15k shield it. I believe that's not enough, yeah. And it looks like he's contemplating about overguarding, and he does. Oh, you gotta do what you gotta do though, so you don't have to take that damage. Remember, staying at low damage against Harri is very important, because once that dragon comes, it's hitting hard. It looks like he's going to activate Renren's skill on the Rotopon, Counter Blast 1, check the top 2, bind a card, and then add a card to hand. He did a little bit shuffling, even though they're both Dragonites. You don't want your opponent you don't want to make it obvious to your opponent that you're gonna, they're both the same card. So, a little shuffling never hurts. And so he calls out the Mew Mew. So he has 1 bounded right now. What you want to do is get up to 4 or 5, preferably 5, so you can keep on throwing stuff back into your deck. Oh, Soul Blasting, and then ends up binding a Dragonite from hand, drawing a card. I believe he might activate the Dragonite. And he binds a heal from hand. And that's the crazy thing about Dungaree. Sometimes you just draw a lot of triggers and you don't even need too many, and you just rather bind them so you can just send them back to your deck. calling out a Jaggy Shot, and Jaggy Shot swings and binds one of your opponent's front row, and if your opponent has no front row, you get to draw. So it looks like he's not going to get the draw because that Piranha's still there and the Jacqueline. And he ends up getting a Cho. Okay, yeah, so now Jaggy Shot's going to go ahead and draw off of his bind, yeah, ends up buying the Jacqueline, and he ends up having 5 in bind now, but Cho is not going to be able to restand after the Vanguard's attack, which is going to hurt a bit. So now Dungaree's going to swing, sending 5 back. Or yeah, sending 5 bind to the drop, and looks like he's going to put in a couple triggers back. Okay, not too shabby. I believe he put in 2 heals and a crit. And right now he's swinging for 25 to Vanguard with 3 checks. That triple drive is so nice. And ends up getting a crit. Alright. And Harri ends up no passing. And that's 2 crits. And that is 4 damage. Holy cow. Okay. And that is the game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. I know I told you Harri stacks, but it looks like Dungaree could do the same. Please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Until I see you next time. Peace.